In 1997, Tony Blair said he was embarrassed to drive his kids through King's Cross. This is King's Cross now, a shiny redevelopment that is home and will be home to some world-famous organisations, including the University of Arts London, the Guardian newspaper and Google. Like Canary Wharf, the area has become a symbol of London's renaissance as the world city. So why did this once maligned area of London manage to shake off its seedy reputation and turn its fortunes around to attract developers such as Nick Searle from Argent?
What made King's Cross unusually developable within London is firstly transport. It's an amazing transport hub. The second thing, it's very unusual to have a piece of land of this scale all in a single ownership. So we had the ability to master plan as a serious piece of city that connected into its existing environment all in one go, and to be able to then curate that place over time and to build it and build the sense of place gradually. The greatest challenge with any project like this is changing perceptions. A huge moment in the change of perception of this part of London was when St Pancras opened the end of 2007. And that suddenly meant that people saw this piece of city in a very different light. And that helped us enormously. But yes, it's been a huge challenge all the way through. When I first started letting office space here, trying to convince people who were based in other parts of London that this was a viable location for their businesses was extremely difficult.
But not everyone is happy. The rest of Britain sometimes looks with envy at the capital. Parts of the North and the Midlands have had less good fortune than King's Cross, never mind the richer bits of London. There is talk of a disunited kingdom.
But what explains London's boom? The answer seems to lie in a combination of economic openness and public leadership. The first brings in businesses and workers from across the world. The second creates the infrastructure to keep a big city functioning. Britain did not have any high-speed rail until the Eurostar line to Paris was built at King's Cross.
London, as we all know, is uniquely attractive across the globe these days. I've worked here for 30 years, it's transformed totally in that time. Particularly with the connection to Europe, it's meant that we've been able to attract international companies as well as London-based companies. But the reality is that most of those London-based companies that we're dealing with here have connections throughout the entire globe anyway. This is a very, very local development, but with a very global audience.
The disunity of the kingdom shows up in party politics. While the UK Independence Party, the populist Eurosceptic movement led by Nigel Farage, has picked up votes throughout England in recent years, in London they have had much less success. This seems to be a city comfortable with globalisation, in a country that is turning away from it. Tony Travers is a professor at the London School of Economics and says London's scale, compared to the rest of the UK, sets it apart.
There's no question that there is a debate about London being separated or growing in separation from the rest of the UK. But it is true that London has always been, or for centuries like this, it has been the biggest city in the country, dominant, powerful, and of course powerful economically as well as politically. The interesting thing about London and Paris and Tokyo is that they are very, very large entities relatively within their country. And that's what I think makes us think London seems startlingly big compared with any other centre in the UK.
If Britain is disunited, so is London itself. There are huge economic differences across the city. A person living in King's Cross can expect to live until the age of 79. In Knightsbridge, just 8 stops away on the Piccadilly line, that number is 91. The Office for National Statistics asks citizens to rate their own level of life satisfaction. Surprisingly perhaps, it shows that London is less happy than the UK average. But even more striking are the differences within the city. Kensington and Chelsea, and suburban Bromley are some of the happiest places in Britain. Lambeth, Brent and Croydon are among the most miserable. And in terms of internet connectivity, while in Camden 97% of people have access to the internet, in Barking and Dagenham that figure is 82%. Some of the poorest local authorities in Britain are in London, including Islington, Hackney and Tower Hamlets. This was true in the mid-1990s too. 20 years of spectacular growth have made the city richer, but not more equal.
The big difference is the scale of London. So when it grew between the wars to becoming the massive 700 square mile city it is today, really for all time, that sealed the place as a massively different city, bigger in every way than the rest of the other cities in the UK.
No one who knew King's Cross in the 1990s could fail to be moved by what has happened here. But London is growing apart from Britain, and different bits of London are growing apart from each other. This can sometimes feel like the capital of the entire world, but it's also a divided city in a disunited kingdom.